Hi, I'm Gary White, and this is How We Met, where we get to hear the story of how couples met and fell in love. And I am here with,
Yvonne Wright.
and we also have a couple who have been married for 40 years. They're going to share their story about how they met. And we have, if you'd introduce yourselves for us.
Steve Downs and my lovely wife.
Peggy Downs.
So you have been married now for 40 years this year, correct?
June 21st, we'll be celebrating 40 years.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Congratulations. But it all began somewhere, right? So tell us, how did the two of you meet?
Which version do you want?
Well, give us both versions.
Her version, the right version, or vice versa? Well, the way I remember it, we were riding around, my sister Sherry and her date for the night, and just riding around Loretta there. And we'd had a chicken cooking party the week before, and a girl had brought some, I think, green beans, canned green beans. So we were going to drop her jars off to her and maybe do a little visiting there. And anyway, we were riding around, and somehow it come up that my brother, Rick, his wife, Miss Joanne, sister is Jackie, that's her oldest sister, was having a party that night. We decided probably a good idea just to head on down to J-Town and I guess crash the party. I don't know whether we were invited or not, but we showed up anyway. And anyway, we got there, and Jackie's roommate happened to be this little girl.
Oh, Peggy.
Go from there.
Okay, so it was going from the country, because you're down the Raywick area, which is in the country in Kentucky, going up Louisville, right? And so that's why you met Peggy up in the big city, huh?
A small town boy and big city girl.
All right.
So Peggy, tell us your version of how this all happened.
Jackie and I were roommates. Jackie is from Holy Cross, and we became roommates because we worked together. And then
Jones Plastic down in J-Town.
Jones Plastic. And we decided to have a party, invite friends. And
we invited?
I don't think so. It seemed like more and more people kept coming, and that's when Steve and Rick and them.
Rick wasn't there.
Rick wasn't there. Sherry and Steve and Sherry's friend just showed up.
Okay. So did you have a date planned for that night?
Actually, I had a date there.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
What happened to him?
Okay.
Left.
I didn't know that. I'm learning something here too.
So you can always learn something new even after 40 years together, right?
Uh-huh.
So you did have a date actually there that night, but he left. So
Yes.
So what happened? Who started talking to whom, and how'd this transpire that the two of you kind of connected that evening?
I don't know. How did that?
I think you came to talk to me.
I'm good at going up and talking to people and kind of try to make them feel comfortable. Because I always like to try to fit in, but you know how you don't always fit in. So you go and start talking to people to kind of open them up a little bit. And Steve was around some people just standing there. And so I just started talking to him.
Of course, this was back in 1979 in the fall, and that was before they invented row balers. So I'd been hauling square bale hay pretty much every day, cutting tobacco. So I was pretty much a he-man back then. You'd hardly know it by looking at me now, Gary, but I was pretty good shape then, working every day. So I'm thinking she said, "Man, what a man," or something like that.
He's dreaming.
Was it love at first sight, Peggy?
I would say so, because when he left, I told my roommate I'm going to marry that guy.
Oh, wow. Steve, you made quite an impression.
Evidently, something happened there. Yeah. And
how about for you, Steve? Was it love at first sight?
Well, to tell you the truth, it was all so sudden and quick. I don't know. Well, let's just say I was highly interested. Let's put it that way. Yeah. But from there, what happened the next weekend?
I don't remember.
I think you came to Marion County.
I think I did.
Okay.
Now, my brother Rick and Juan actually lived in this house then. and Peggy talked, I guess, Jackie into coming out, and Peggy wound up staying the weekend up here
with Rick and Juan.
Yeah. Visiting.
Peggy was in hot pursuit, huh?
Evidently.
I guess.
And we were hauling cattle to Bourbon Stockyards down to Louisville at that time. So I was down to Louisville 3 or 4 days a week hauling cattle. So I kind of made it a habit to swing by J-Town on the way home and stop and visit, coming and going. So Peggy still worked at Jones Plastic. As she started coming out visiting on the weekends, she would work second shift and get off work about 11 o'clock, I guess. So I would my Friday night routine was, of course, we was coming in all day, get cleaned up, watch Dukes of Hazzard, because that was on Friday night. When Dukes of Hazzard went off, jump in the car and head to J-Town and pick Peggy up and bring her in, and she would spend the weekend up here with Rick and Juan, and we'd go out and do whatever for the weekend. And would you call that a long distance relationship?
Yes.
Well, yeah, sort of. Yeah.
So had you ever thought you'd end up dating a farm boy there, Peggy?
Actually, I have family that farmed my grandfather, and I would always go to Bowling Green, Warren County, and stay with them quite a bit. And they did farming, so I knew some about it, so it wasn't blind.
Actually, she'd been, Sulphur Lick out horseback riding before, so she'd been to, part of Marion County before, but I don't think she ever realized she'd wind up spending her life here.
So
what did your friends think of this relationship, Peggy? You coming down to Marion County every weekend?
They were wondering where I was going all the time. Well, I was very active, playing ball and sports and just being involved in a lot of things. So on weekends, it kind of cut my weekend short while I was in Louisville. So they would, some of them would come out, but not very often. And we'd go to some property on Sulphur Lick and ride and stuff, and I'd stay there once in a while. But we still maintain today talking relationships and stuff with some classmates.
So what was it, that first encounter, that you said you knew right away you're going to end up marrying him? What was it that sparked that, do you think? Do you remember?
It seems like we had a little argument over something when we first met.
I don't remember that.
I do.
Did you ever settle it? Still a whole lot of arguing.
No, we still argue.
Usually wins too.
Yeah. We don't argue or anything, but we have discussions and stuff. There was just something about him that I just said, I'm going to marry that guy.
Wow.
And we did.
And you did. So you started off with, by accident, meeting up, then having weekends together. So how long did that go on, that you would kind of come down during the weekend and then go from there?
I would, I was working at Jones Plastic. There was quite a few people there from Marion County that was working there also. So how long did it take for you two to become a steady boyfriend and girlfriend?
An item.
How long was that?
I'd say right away.
Yeah.
Right
away. I guess that was, what month would that have been? We probably August or September.
Yeah.
And Valentine's Day the next year is when we got it. I got her an engagement ring and actually proposed to her here in the house where we live at now.
So, Steve, you're not the kind of guy who looks around a little bit and you found one woman and that's
it?
Hey,
when you get the right one, just settle down and grab it before somebody else gets it, right?
Oh, that's correct. I agree with you completely.
So we got engaged at February, the Valentine's Day, and got married June 21st, 1980. So June 21st of this year will be 40 years. So don't know how that happened, but here it is.
Amazing.
Well, Peggy, did you ever think that you'd be living on a farm, though? I mean, really, in your wildest imagination, did you think it?
No, not really. Not like we farm, no. Not at all.
What did Bill Lyons always call you?
Bill, you know Bill Lyons from Loretta?
Used to run Lyons grocery store out to Loretta.
First time he ever met me, he called me City Farmer, and it stuck with me in Loretta and still that today. So.
Really?
City farmer. Now, what does that mean?
I came from the city, and I'm farming.
So you have some extra special touches you put into farming. Is that right?
I do, yeah.
All
He
right.
takes care of all the chickens and the turkeys and the peacocks, the honeybees.
Yeah, I raise honeybees, so yeah.
I've seen pictures of your peacock.
Oh, I love those peacocks. I just love them to death. They remind me as if I'm back in Africa when I was over there volunteering. So I really enjoy them.
Wow.
Yeah, she ran away from home for
About a month.
That's been, I think, 5, 6 years ago.
Or longer.
Went on a mission trip to, was it Zimbabwe? No, Botswana.
Botswana. We went to Zimbabwe, but
So that's the
Botswana.
longest we was ever apart there. So needless to say, we were glad to see her get back home.
I'll bet.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you got engaged on Valentine's Day. That's very romantic. Do you remember? Do you remember that?
It makes it easy to remember that date too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very
remember-
memorable.
Do you remember how he proposed?
Yeah, he had a ring tied to a rose and a dozen roses, and we were having a steak, baked potato, salad dinner that night.
Who prepared the food that night? Was it you or him?
Not me. No, I didn't. Who
Probably
did?
Juwan, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess Juwan did. Rick and Juwan.
Yeah, because that's where we were at. Like I say, here at this house. So we bought the farm. About 1990 something, 91 or
there.
2, and remodeled the house and been here ever since. So
I
Okay.
think a lot of them. So yeah.
Now, was this a surprise engagement, or was all the family in on it, or how did that work?
It was a surprise to me.
I think it's surprised about everybody.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you kept it to yourself? Is that what you're saying? You kept it a
I
secret?
think Rick and Juwan were in on it.
They made the meal.
Like Mom and Dad even knew about it till after it done happened.
Yeah, you introduced them me to them at a cookout down there. So,
Okay.
So how did he introduce you?
How did you introduce me?
I don't know. That's been 40 years ago.
We were having a cookout at Malls, down to Malls, or they were, and he went in and said something like, "This is the girl I'm going to marry," or I think he surprised his mom.
Oh, gee. Steve, you're a romantic kind of guy. I never would have guessed it.
Yeah, can't tell by looking, huh? 40
What's your
years to
family's-
mellow out, though.
Yeah. What's your families think about the difference between the city and the country life? Differences there.
I think I kind of wondered how that was going to work, but I think my grandmother was probably the one that was the most wondering how a city girl like her is going to stay on the farm. But I think it worked out just fine.
So was it
Yeah,
ever
I think so too.
was it ever a question of whether you would possibly go up to Louisville, Steve, or whether you would always end up on the farm? Was that
Going to Louisville never came up, so no.
I never asked.
Hard to find a good set of grazing cows in Louisville, you know.
so? The farm was part of the deal, correct?
That was it.
Yes, that's great. So, where'd you go on your honeymoon after you got married?
Oh, this is the fun part.
We stayed fairly close to home. We went to let's see, Kings Island.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually got married down to St. Gabriel's down in Fern Creek.
Great.
Had the reception there at was it?
No, not a church. We
At,
did it at the GE. They had a hall that we had the reception at. My dad, stepdad worked at GE, and he rented a hall that GE owned, their local union place or something.
Yeah, like a big banquet hall. And best I can remember, it was a pretty good sized party there.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of celebrating. And anyway, we drove up to Kings Island that night. And was it going up or coming back? The water pump went out on our car. Or no, thermostat stuff. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So luckily we had a set of tools in the trunk. So had to take the thermostat out to, like I said, I'm not sure if it was coming or going, but had to do a little car work before we got back home. And stopped and spent coming home, stopped in Louisville, stayed at a motel there. Was it second night or third night?
Yeah.
And while we were there, somebody actually tried to break in the room while we were in the room. Wow.
Made it more memorable.
So,
Very memorable.
I kept saying, who is it? They kept saying, it's the manager. I'd say, ain't no manager come through no window.
anyway, being the strong man I was, I got my pocket knife and had it sitting on the nightstand for the rest of the night. So we were going to peel somebody's head if he did come in.
I guess. Steve to the rescue.
Yeah. And then after that, we went down to Nolin Lake. Their family's got a cabin down on Nolin Lake, and we spent, 3 days there on the lake. So cooking out and whatever. And so.
Sounds like a pretty big time.
5 or 6 days all together, and got back home and went back to farming.
Okay. Well, Peggy, tell us a little bit about that wedding. I'm sure you had a beautiful dress and bridesmaids and all that. Tell us about that.
I had a nice dress with a long train, and I don't know. My sister was my maid of honor, and
Sonia, Juwan's daughter, was the
flower
girl, and Scott, her nephew, was the
ring bearer.
Yep. And let's see, who else was in it?
Joe,
Sherry was in it.
Yeah.
Joey was in it. Tucker, my brother Rick. Of course, 1980, I had the solid white tux on.
Oh, wow.
Remember Dukes of Hazzard? Dog. That's kind of what the look we was going for, I think.
Beautiful. So, yeah.
Really like the priest they had there.
Well, very good. That sounds wonderful. Sounds like a really nice wedding, and then the reception afterwards and all that.
That was great. It was very nice.
Now, did you put all that together yourself, or did you have help?
My mom, when she was living, she put it all together. She helped put it all together. She went with me to St. Gabriel, and we worked all that out, and then she put all the reception and stuff together, her and her sisters, when they were living. So a lot of good memories.
Yes.
So how are you going to celebrate 40 years this year?
Well, he doesn't go off the farm very often.
Well, we did go to Hawaii.
Oh, we did.
It's been 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So we may have to look back on that and say, oh, yeah, that was our 40th anniversary cruise.
Might have to call family up and say, hey, can we come again? So.
Well, Peggy actually had a cruise booked with some other friends, and what was that going to be in May?
Yes.
And all that got canceled, and a trip to Yellowstone got canceled, and we actually have tickets to Allison Krauss concert at Center College in Danville. That's coming up in maybe 2 weeks or something.
That was part of the anniversary present to him.
So I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be canceled as well. I haven't heard yet, but I assume it probably will be. So not a whole lot of cruising or traveling going on for now, is there?
That's right.
There is not right now, but I'm sure, Steve, you'll come up with something creative real soon.
Yeah, we'll probably take a cruise back and check on the cows in the backfield, and I'm not even going to make her open the gates or anything. I'll open the gates even.
What a gentleman!
Yes, indeed.
So,
well, congratulations on being so close to 40 years.
That's right.
Love it.
Congratulations on 40 years this year. And what would you share for our listeners and viewers? What is the key to having a successful marriage for that long?
Say, stay staying open to listening to each other helps a whole lot. You might not agree on something. Not all the time you will, but just keep an open mind.
Yep. I have to agree with that.
Good.
You like that?
Love your wife.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. We appreciate it.
Yes, we
Well,
do.
thanks for having us on, Gary
Appreciate
and
it.
Yvonne.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. Wonderful story, 40 years together. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.